Landslide? Landslide? Any other? Do you have eruption? No volcano? No volcano? Okay. And sorry? Okay. Okay, yes. So I think we share the same, yeah, the same, the same disaster, but we have a lot more. Okay, yeah, because if you have floods, if you have a landslide, haze, we have also eruption, we have drought, we have a cyclone, we have tsunami, we have earthquake, and a lot of more. So yeah, for a few years ago, some people call Indonesia as a supermarket of disasters. But now, yeah, in few years ago, we mentioned about supermarket of disaster in negative side, but now we interpret that in positive side because we can aware about that, and yeah, we have almost every types of disaster here, considering the huge size of Indonesia. But from the experience of handling disaster, Indonesia is also one of the center of disaster research, and also yeah, we like we built some intervention program that is become a best practice for the world. So besides we contribute the number of disaster, we also contribute about how we manage to the disaster. Okay, so now we will like discuss about disaster from our psychology understanding. What do you think we will discuss about this? What do you think the relationship between disaster and psychology? Any idea? Yeah, please. No? You? Maybe? Hmm? Okay, the impacts of disasters. Else? Okay, during the disasters. Else, maybe? Effects of disaster. So, the impacts of the disasters, and yeah, what happened, the trauma, and all the three answers are about the relations between disaster and human behavior after the disaster. Okay, what before? Is there any relation between disaster and psychology and human behavior? Yeah, okay. Any others? Yeah. Yes, yes, sure.
How to handle your emotions.
Okay, how to handle emotion when you involve in a disaster? Okay. Next is it? Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. We can see that this is months of devastation, major natural disaster around the world in 2023. This is the biggest disaster this year. in US, in Morocco, in Libya, and Greece. And we can see that the impacts of this disaster, like how, like we can see the Morocco, it's earthquake, and affected areas include the Atlas Mountains region. At least 2,946 people. You can imagine almost 3,000. And in Libya, the fatal floods of at least 6,000 people killed. And also the Greece and US. It shows, this data shows us the severe impacts of disaster to the population in the world. Next, please. And this is the countries with most natural disaster in 2022. The first is United States, and the second is Indonesia with at least 20 disasters. So when I said that Indonesia is a supermarket of disaster, it's not, yeah, that's true. We have almost everything and we have a lot of disaster. And we can see, can you find Malaysia? No, alhamdulillah. Okay, and back to my question about what the relation between disaster and human behavior. Next, please, we will see. This is still the types of ASEAN disaster: drought, earthquake, flood, landslide, storm, tsunami, volcano, wind. And yeah, mention any, but this is the most. And next, please. Okay. Before we answer my question about the relationship between disaster and human behavior, that is psychology. What we learn in psychology is human behavior, right? So we can say that when we learn about disaster in psychology, it means we talk about what's the relationship between disaster and human behavior. We will define the disaster first. I choose to use this definition of disaster. Disaster are serious disruption to the functioning. So the first keyword is disruption, and the second keyword is functioning of the community. Disruption to the functioning of a community that exceeds its capacity to cope using its own resources. Functioning of the community and exceed capacity. So all are keywords, yeah. And to cope. So we can say in another sentence that disaster in our perspective, using behavioral perspective, means that there is disruption on how a community continue the function, cause in doing coping to handle the disaster, they need help from out the community. So they need help from others because they don't, their resource is not enough to cope. That's we call disaster. If something happened like flood happen to a community, but this community is not disturbed enough and they can handle the impact of the flood by themselves using their resource, we will not call it a disaster until they need help from others. Okay. Wait a minute. Back to, yeah. Disaster can be caused by natural, man-made, and technological hazard, as well as various factors that influence the exposure and vulnerability of a community. At the background, I put some picture of the types of disaster, flood, that's aeroplane crash, that man-made, technological, also wildfire, landslide, and what's this, tsunami. That's the types, other than some of others. Next, please. And yeah, this is the impacts of, okay. Yeah. I can't say that until we sure that the virus that cause of the pandemic is really purposely made by men and like make it, like spread it around the world to make the pandemic. We can say that pandemic as in case that the virus is like as we can read from the newspaper, there are some theories, yeah, about this, the cause of this pandemic. If we believe that the cause of the pandemic is the virus that man-made and spreading accidentally, we cannot say maybe this is man-made, but we can say that this is a technological accident, the technological disaster. But if we believe that this is doing in purpose, like man-made, and spread it to make the pandemic, we can say that this is man-made. But yeah, at some point, man-made and technological errors is like, sometimes we can, it's difficult to spread this, but yeah, for this pandemic, I think I can say I'm not sure that this is like spread in purpose. So maybe we can say that this is technological failures of or accidentally spreading, but we will see, because there are, as I said, there are a lot of theories about this. In like, where's our perspective to see this depends the answer of this question. Yeah. Okay. So this is the impact of disaster, death, okay, debates, injuries, environment destroyed, economic, and last, psychological impacts. Unfortunately, this psychological impact is the impact that quite difficult to be reported and to be reported as statistic. So at some cases, and most cases, I can say that in most cases, this psychological impact is like people tend to think that this is not important impacts. Yeah. And this is impact. This is the example of economic impacts. Yeah, loss of life and employment, like pandemics. Few last year, 2 years ago, unemployment, loss of livelihoods, loss of property, and so on. Next, please. And why disaster psychology important? This is the answer of my question, my first question. Disaster always related to human behavior. in Malaysia, in Indonesia, we have, yeah, maybe thousands, yeah, quite a lot of islands, small islands, with no people in the island, and some of them, yeah, like, yeah, struck by floods, struck by tsunami, struck by earthquake, but without that people, without people killed, without counted damage, and without destroyed environment that can be observed by the government or people at the island. We can say that, yeah, flood happens, earthquake happens, tsunami happens. We can't say that that is or there are a disasters happen in the islands. Why? Because there are no, maybe from environmental perspective they call it disaster, but from psychological perspective we don't say this as disaster because no people involved in this hazard. Okay, now disaster happens when, as we mentioned first, the community function is disrupted. Means always related to human behavior, the community behavior, and also only aftermath or after, long after the disaster, the impact, but also the relationship is also before. Human behavior always like suspected, not yeah. Sometimes suspected, sometimes it's clear that human behavior is the cause of the disaster, like flood. What the cause of floods in Malaysia? Deforestation. Who do the deforestation? You. Okay. How about the landslide? What the cause? Developer, and why the landslide happens? Deforestation again. And who do the deforestation? Human. So can you see how the relationship between human behavior and the disaster? Yeah, okay, it's really clear. Okay. Understanding human behavior in disaster context help us in doing disaster preparedness, disaster mitigation, evacuation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. It does means that in every steps of disaster involve the human behavior involved. Next, please. Yeah, as we know, psychology essentially concerned with how people make sense of their words. In a disaster context, what really important about psychology is how we understand how people make sense of their word, how we build our perception about everything, because our perceptions will develop to our attitude and our behavior. Yeah. And the nature of their transaction with their experience, physical and social environment. Next. Yeah. In psychology, what we talk about disaster, what we discuss, what we analyze on disaster response. We will learn, we will talk about processes of anticipation, about as she made the emotion, anxiety, fear and sadness, the representation or imaging of the threatening events, appraisal of the nature and magnitude of personal risk, motivation to act. Like if a flood happened in Malaysia, like are there people who affected by the flood refuse to be evacuated? Yeah. Okay. So we can see that some people maybe, yeah, I'm okay to be evacuated right now. But some people, other people say, I don't want to be evacuated. Some other people say, no need. We'll stay here until it's gone. Okay, so we will understand the motivation to act in disaster context. Also, immediate and long-term coping and adjustment, behavior response to disaster and behavior intervention, what we can do. Like who mentioned about behavior change, how we change the behavior of people, of the community, to help our community to prevent the disaster, to mitigate the disaster, to intervene, to do intervention, so they can like minimize the impacts. Next, please. And you say about trauma also, how to give intervention to the survivors of the disaster, so they can like heal from their trauma. Psychological effect of natural disaster is about perception, making sense, yeah, sense making, emotional and behavioral response to stressful events. So in disaster psychology, we always involve this topic. Next, please. And now we move to the aftermath and the situation during disaster. These are common psychological responses to disaster, from cognitive symptoms, emotional, physical, and behavioral. A lot of response, a lot of common response, yeah, emerge in human behavior. Yeah, I can like explain one by one, but if any of you want to ask, you can raise your hand. Feel free to raise your hand to ask. But okay, this is quite a lot. Like moodiness. Some disaster survivors, like so behaviors like after disaster. Some of them refuse to eat in few days and face difficulties on sleeping, like feeling anxiety all the time. And yeah, this is some the common responses. Next, please. And this one are factors influence responses to disaster. There are differences, variability of the response in the community. Some people may show like severe emotion response, but not physical. Others may be only physical, but not really clear their emotion response. So there are variability, there are differences, and this is the factors who influence the type of disaster. Some articles in the journal reported the difference psychological response between the survivors of flood and landslide. And I forgot to put the article's link, but this research found that like the intensity of the emotion response of the survivors, like of the wildfire disaster and drought and eruption are different. So the types of the disaster is important factors that influence how people respond to the disaster. Also, the experiences of the survivor exposure. People who experience the disaster like flood before, like maybe in Malaysia is the same with Indonesia. There are some area that is struck by flood annually. Is it? Yeah. Yeah. So people who live in these areas, they like emotionally, psychologically, they prepare better because they already knew that, oh, this is a raining session, so we are ready. Maybe next week or I don't know when, but the flood will come. So this awareness about and based on their experience last year or the years before will make difference of their response with compared to other community who struck the first flood in their life. Individual health and mental health status. Yeah, people who has like individual who has like bad mental condition before the disaster tends to have worse psychological impact of the disaster. Also culture, yeah, culture is really important factors like response, how people respond to disaster. Why? Have you any idea the role of culture in this? Yeah.
Oh, the role of culture. I believe it because it shapes your mentality also. The people that you are surrounded with, on how you view things. Because I remember watching a YouTube video on Japan's tsunami. In 2001, was it? Was one of the biggest tsunami. Yeah, but this one was like the big one, yeah. And then it showed the documentary showed some of the victims and what they think, and quite a few people, but there are people that are okay, but there are also like young people and other people who were suicidal. Yeah, because they say that they have nothing to live for anymore, and that yeah, they lost everything. They lost only people that they have, and because in Japan they tend to stick to their own small family in a way. So that one I can see how culture affects it because of how the community works in the first place and the mentality.
What's your name? Khadijah. Okay, thank you, Khadijah. Good examples about the role of culture. Yeah, in shaping a response, people response. Any other idea about this?
I think collectivistic cultures are more readily available to help those, especially in like Malaysia, because although like the flooding would occur in like Kelantan or Terengganu, people in like Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, and Johor are always readily available. They are always offering volunteering to help their own the people there through financial means or going to volunteer. Yeah.
Well, what's your name? Maisara. Thank you, Maisara. Okay. Yes, there are two examples of how culture yeah, contribute to the people, how the people respond to disaster. And in the culture, include belief system, warning message, procedure, religion, tradition, like local wisdom also include in this culture factor, like how people perceive disaster. It will shape their response. Like because like Japanese believe that there is no more life when they lost everything. So a lot of Japanese do suicide when they struck by disaster. And also, what Maisha mentioned, the individualistic and versus collectivistic community also include in this culture as well. Based on my research for my PhD, I also founded tradition, local tradition is also like contribute to like determine their decision on evacuation, on relocation, and their response to the government policies. Like in my case, in my research, I use the communities who live near the crater of Merapi volcano. In Merapi, it huge eruption in 2010, and as the same with Malaysia, even after the eruption, some people still refuse to be evacuated in really dangerous situation. Why? And I did interviews with quite a lot of people who live there, and some of the answer are about their beliefs. We believe that we are safe. We believe that our ancestors protect us from the impact of the disaster. We believe that, and a lot of belief. So this is part of the culture. Also leads literacy, disaster literacy. This is about disaster literacy. So yeah, knowledge of the people who involved will develop, will determine the response. Also experience, it's maybe same for the number 6, it's not only experience on disaster, but experience that will shape their perception about the world. So, and also environment, the response of people to disaster are different between people who live near the sea, near the seaside, and who live the mountain, because their environment shape their behavior. Also government policies, it's clear, because like if based on their experience, they like a disappointment or no trust to the government, their response will different. Okay, next please. And this the disaster management cycle. From this cycle, I can say that disaster is not a linear line. It means that after the disaster, we like rehabilitate and we heal to condition before disaster and stop. We will never experience disaster again, not like that. And also in disaster management, we can stop at a point, like after the recovery, we don't know if the disaster will come again. So we will continue with mitigation again, preparation, response. So this is this one. The events means a disaster, when the disaster struck. So the cycle, we divide the cycle before and after the disaster. Preparation, response, recovery, mitigation. Next, please. And this is the different phases of disaster from mental health perspective. The emotion, this is how this one. This is the disaster here. This is before the disaster, and this is after the disaster. The title is Role of Mental Health Professional. This is the role. We can see that before the disaster, the role of mental health professional is to do promotion. What promotion? Promotion means like we do programs to help people to increase and to keep their mental health in good condition. So when disaster struck, like their condition is more ready, because as I mentioned earlier, people who have bad mental health condition before the disaster tend to have worse impact after the disaster. So before the disaster, we do promotive programs. And after the disaster, we have 4 phases: heroic phase, honeymoon phase, disillusionment phase, and restoration phase. And this one, what our roles? Preventive. Preventive means not prevent the disaster, but prevent the worst impact. So if people, the survivor here struck by the disaster, we help to prevent the impact getting worse after. Also curative, because this is 2 until around 36 months after the disaster. This is curative because from mental health perspective, the psychological disorders in this case like what the example: depression, anxiety, general anxiety, PTSD. Yeah, from some research, those psychological disorders emerge in this stage. So this is curative. The role of a mental health professional is curative, means healing. And also after restoration means after the rehabilitation, after they like came back to their in normal life after 3 years around. This is not exactly 3 years. But after this stage, they will restore it, and preparedness is the role of the mental health. Means we to build the readiness, the preparedness of the people to face in case disaster will happen again, because the cycle. Yeah. Okay, so this is the different phases of disaster in mental health perspective. Next. And this is what in more details. During pre-disaster period, what we can do for the communities. And next, please. And this is immediately after the disaster. Next, and during. That's in details about our roles. And this is psychosocial intervention pyramid. From this pyramid, I can say that not all of the disaster survivor need us as professional. That's bold, yeah. We should put it in bold note, because we can see here, most survivors only needs a basic services. They to make sure that their basic needs is enough. They can access their basic needs, socially protect dignity, and if the condition getting worse, less people will like they will feel better with social network, community, traditional activities, something like that, and less people who show worse condition on mental health will need basic mental health care. Maybe in Indonesia, we have puskesmas. I don't know, in Malaysia, puskesmas means primary health center. Well, in Malaysia, primary, the basic. So there are doctors, there are GP. In the UK, GP. Indonesia, we call it puskesmas, Pusat Kesehatan Masyarakat. Yeah. We have nurse, we have midwifery, we have doctor, we have, So basic mental health, and only about 2 to 4% survivors who need specialized services from psychiatry and psychologists. So it means that actually not all the survivor experience trauma and need professional in mental health. From some research, it's only about 2 to 4% from the population. Next, please. And one of the popular intervention for disaster survivors is PFA, psychological first aid. Have you read or receive a training about this? PFA? Yeah, maybe some of you. Yeah. Okay, so PFA, psychological first aid, is human supportive and practical assistance for people who are distressed, ways that respect their dignity, culture, and abilities. Again, culture is mentioned here. It shows us that culture is a really important factor in human behavior. And also, PFA is an evidence-informed approach that is built on the concept of human resilience. Resilience? Okay. Aims to reduce stress symptoms, assist in healthy recovery, and speed up the recovery. Next, please. This is the basic principles of PFA. Look, listen, comfort, link, protection, and instilling hope. How we do observation, interviewing to get accurate data about the survivor. And take note that PFA is not only for disaster survivor, but for all people who face, like experience and who are in crisis situation because of any reasons. So look and listen, observation, interview. We can do that to collect data about the survivors. We give comfort. We link the survivor to the people who are significant to them to give social support to help them getting better, and also protection and instilling hope. Next. Yeah. So when we use PFA, we aware that there is a shifting on disaster paradigm from vulnerability to resilience. Next, please. Vulnerability paradigm suggests that disaster primarily affect the marginalized groups who lack access to resource. So this from this paradigm, we believe that only poor people, only marginalized people who affected by or impacted by disaster. The rich one, the people who like have privilege in their life, they can struck by disaster. But the fact says different, right? And we shift to the resilience paradigm that believe that individual or community have the ability to cope. The vulnerability paradigm tend to use negative perspective, but resilience paradigm use more positive perspective. Next, please. This is the difference, yeah, vulnerability versus resilient paradigm. You can say, you can see here, basic principle, it's possible to technically control the impact of hazard on territory. And that's not true, actually. And from resilient, the impact of a hazard can be reduced by building the overall adaptive capacity of the community. Approach, starting point, hazard. This is territory, centering risk. This is uncertainty, and problem and limitation. You can read later. Next, please. So we talk about resilience because this is now is the center concept on disaster management. Resilience is achieved within a system that include multiple activities, interaction, and relationship. Next, please. And this is the factors when we discuss about resilience, we discuss about factors because these factors determine how we can like decide this community is they have high level of resiliency, but the other is low level of resiliency. Next. Resilience, what for? In short sentence, we can say that more resilient a community is, the more ready they like cope disaster, and the less resilience, less ready to face to cope to the disaster. And next, I think this is the last one. Yes, this is the last slides from my presentation. So if you have question, how many minutes we still have? 30, okay. So we have 30, but yeah, feel free to raise your hand to ask. But if it's clear already, you have free time to enjoy. But up to you. Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Good question. Thank you. The answer is, yeah, maybe it's not like, yeah, in Indonesia, we have a lot of disaster and a lot of events of disaster. And unfortunately, same with other countries in the world, mental health still, yeah, we still on the way to still struggling with this, to make mental health as the mainstream, like in the mainstream of intervention for disaster. Like, yes, we have a lot of NGOs who like have programs to give trainings to people, and mostly for university students, PFA, and also we have also like here is Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. Muhammadiyah is, yeah, organization, and in Muhammadiyah we have MDMC, Muhammadiyah Disaster Muhammadiyah Disaster Management Center, and this is big, and it's certificate by WHO as as international NGO, and we send like team to other countries, to Turkey, to if there are disaster, a big disaster, and need help, MDMC always send team to there. And in MDMC we have like in the structure we have also a PFA team. Also we have like psychology, well, not psychology, psychosocial team. But I think that's still not enough as Indonesia, as a big country. It's still not a comprehensive program. And again, mental health is not in the mainstream of the intervention. But yes, we are doing this preparation intervention. But yeah, MDMC always call university students to join them as psychosocial volunteers as well, but still not enough. Muhammadiyah has 172 universities around in Indonesia. We have how many who have psychology, faculty of psychology, but still the willingness of the students to be the volunteers for psychosocial still need to be improved. Yeah, hi students. This is our homework. Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Yeah.
I'm a bit curious about earlier in the presentation, there's some talk about how some of the victims' responses to disasters are like they don't want to accept help, right? So if that happens in the future, how the rescue team they would not like to be rescued, like they would prefer to stay at their places. Yes. So like if that occurs in the future during, let's say, rescue missions, how should the people, the rescuers, react to that?
Good question. Well, there are factors. That's why it's important to like develop and to learn about disaster psychology, because in disaster psychology we try to understand why the survivors act this behavior response in this way and not that way. And disaster psychology explain about this and why people refuse to be evacuated even in really dangerous situation. As we discussed, as I explained about factors that contribute to the response of the people, that the answer actually. But I can give you an example. I give you in Merapi as an example, because I did my research there, so I have quite a lot of data about this. They refuse to be evacuated because some reasons. The first, their local belief about their safety and the protection of their ancestor. They believe that their ancestors live in the crater of the volcano, and they believe from their years experiences that they will be safe. So they refuse to be evacuated. Second, local belief. And second, from their experience, because Merapi eruption, the direction of the eruption changed, like from the west side to the south and changed. And from years of experience, the people who I did the research is on the almost east side of the volcano. They believe that they are safe because from their grandfather, grandmother, they never experienced the impacts of the disaster, so they feel safe. So they refuse. Also, about like the information, overwhelmed information, because now social media is really important in spreading information, including in a disaster situation. During the eruption, because the eruption in 2010 happens in 3 months, almost 3 months. Started in October and finished like in the middle of December. During this eruption, the people receive information, a lot of information that confuse them about the predicted impact, the predicted direction of the eruption, about how many kilometers the eruption will reach, and others information about the eruption. So from this information, they make decision. We are safe because we are in the east side of the volcano. So the eruption will not come here, will not impact us and others. So a lot of people mention about this reason, and other is they refuse to be evacuated because they don't want to leave their cattle stock. People, all of the families have cattle stock. This is the only saving they have. This is the saving. And they don't want to leave their cattle stock behind when they go down. And this is the main reason. This is the main reason why they refuse to be evacuated. And now, from the years of learning, from the years of experience of eruption in the Merapi, the government and helped by the NGOs and the community decide to make like SOP, standard operational procedure for evacuation. And one of the procedure is doing the cattle stock evacuation first before the people. And this procedure make the people have no reasons to refuse because their cattle stock is safe. And this is good example of the action to get them ready to be evacuated. This is the example of why people different in response. And yeah. Okay, welcome. Any others? Or the time is no? Okay. Any more or enough?
I want to ask about like, it's just a personal question where my personal observation is, for example, when Japan have disasters and, you know, usually earthquakes and everything, they have more publicity in a way. They have like more publicity in a way. Yeah, like in the social media on how they deal with it, like how the buildings are built and how like the system works and everything. But from my personal observation, we don't really hear much about Indonesia and how Indonesia deals with, even though Indonesia also has a lot of, you know, natural disasters. And I wonder why that is. Because like I also asked previously my Indonesian friends, like, oh, if you guys have this, what do you guys do? And they're like, I don't know.
That's why in the factors who determine the response, government policy is an important factors. Yeah, government policy. First, the answer is first, because the government policy is not really clear about this. Maybe the policy is clear, but how the government implement this for the community is not. We can say that this is not consistent as we hope, we wish. Yeah. First. Second, Indonesia is huge with a lot of islands, big islands, and a lot of tribes with different tradition, different culture. And it's quite challenging to know, to like socialize, to educate, to with same response, with the same treatment. So to like it's really different with Japan. Japan is yeah, homogeneous. It's only small with yeah, quite only how many million the population of Japan, and decrease, yeah. And this is the second and the third, because like yeah, we do different treatment. We need to do the different treatment for different disaster in Indonesia with different tribes, different culture. So yes, we have generic policy, but in the field, we need to interpret this in more local implementation, in more local program. So I think, yeah. And four, this is important. Japan, the lies in like in yeah, the geographical position of Japan is high risk of disaster. Same with Indonesia, but you know, the small and the huge. And Japan developed disaster culture, has been developed disaster culture for hundreds years. Indonesia still learn to do that. And yeah, so like yeah, we do sporadically. We do like education in our primary school curriculum. We include disaster education as well, how to respond. But because like in Jakarta, maybe most of the school has this have this procedure, but we can say that in Sumatra, in Papua, in east of Indonesia, they can follow this. Yeah. So yes, that's the challenge. That's why it's really different. Yeah, from the geography, from the culture, from the population. It's really different, and yeah, we still learn to work there. Thank you. Any other? Or enough? Is it enough? Okay. If this is the last question, thank you very much for your active participation. Oh, one more question.
I would like to ask, this is about the Palestine situation. So I would say, I think war is a man-made disaster. So, and we also know that Palestinians have been attacked for a very long time. But from social media, we can see that they've developed a high resilience. So how can you expand the relation between their faith in Allah in overcoming all these disasters? Yeah.
I forgot to mention that Muhammadiyah published a book about the fikih of disaster. I'll share the link later. The ebook is in English. In Bahasa Indonesia, the title is fikih bencana, but in English is a COVID disaster in Islamic perspective, if I'm not mistaken. And in this book, we Muhammadiyah present and trying to explain how our faith to Allah and like how Islam perceive about disaster and explain about this. And talking about Palestine, I can say a lot about this, but in maybe Malaysia and Indonesia share the same courage to help and to support our brothers and sisters in Palestine. Even the Israel people mention us, Malaysia and Indonesia, in their social media posts. Yeah, and I should proud about that. And yes, in short sentence, we can say that Palestine people believe that their life in the world is only a way to their final destination, to Allah. So they don't feel of like fear to die. I think this is the biggest courage that them to develop their resilience, because they believe that it's fine. As I read in the social media, a mother who lost her children say that, yeah, and also we believe that children who die will wait for their parents in the paradise, right? This belief help them to develop ikhlas and like believe that Allah yeah, take away their children for the reasons for a good reason for them. So all of this belief, I think, really helps them to keep the courage high and develop their resilience. As we also can say that everything now in the world made in China, but courage made in Palestine, the only nation with really beyond expectation of resilience level. I think that's what I can say about this. Faith on Allah, faith on what Allah say in Al-Quran about our life after our life in the world, build their resilience. Okay. Okay, that's the last question, I think. So again, thank you very much for your active involvement, participation in this session. I hope it will be benefit you. Alhamdulillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much to Dr. Lucy. What a wonderful presentation for this session. I would like to give a summary before we finish the topic. Disaster psychology or serious disruption are the function of a community that exceeds its capacity to using its own resource. Disaster psychology is talk about human behavior, the impact of disaster that includes death, damage, injuries, environment destroy, economic, psychological impact. Why disaster psychology is very important to learn? Because disaster always related to human behavior. Role of mental health professional have 4 phase: heroic phase, honeymoon phase, disillusionment phase, and restoration phase. That's all for summary for this session. Give applause for Dr. Lucy.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lucy, for your speech and Habibi for your moderating. So before we move to our next session, we have Duhur pray first and lunch after that. So thank you, and see you later.